AU or EU? Who's really in charge of Africa's future? Who really controls the African Union, an organization meant to unite Africa to champion your interests? But its programs and peacekeeping missions are mostly funded by Europe. Its headquarters are paid for and built by China. Its annual budget, nearly two-thirds, comes from outside the continent. So here's the question. Can a union that doesn't fund itself truly represent African interests? Let's unpack what's really driving the African Union and who's holding the steering wheel. Hi, I'm Analytica Today and welcome to Analytica Today. Last week, the foreign ministers of the African Union and the European Union met to check on progress. They talked about peace, prosperity, migration, and multilateralism. But here's the thing. Every time these meetings happen, they sound more like Europe checking in on its investment than equal partners shaping the future. And for good reason. Its gleaming headquarters in Addis Ababa, a gift from China worth $200 million. The AU's home is not truly its own, and the Union's budget. Over 60% is covered by foreign donors. In 2024, the African Union approved a budget of $605 million. And get this, over 62% of that from foreign donors, mostly from Europe. Only about one-third came from African countries. And we all know what that means. Whoever provides the funds sets the agenda. External donors usually earmark their contributions for specific projects. That means they don't just give money, they give instructions on how to spend it. And suddenly, the AU's priorities no longer reflect Africa's interests. They reflect Europe's or China's. So, if you work for the AU, chances are your paycheck's approved in Brussels. And when Europe pays your bills, it's Europe that calls the shots. This is not just about budget sheets, it's about power and control. So, when AU and EU foreign ministers meet, we need to ask, who's really leading these conversations? Europe sees Africa as a geopolitical priority, especially now with global tensions rising. Russia, China, and the US all vying for influence, tensions high, conflicts rising everywhere. The EU-AU meeting last week focused on partnership, but is it equal? Europe's actions and history in Africa tells a different story. Think of France and the CFA franc, a colonial-era currency still used by 14 African countries. Paris literally holds billions in reserves from these nations. They can't even print their own money without France's approval. Think of coups in Africa. Take the 1961 assassination of Patrice Lumumba, Congo's first prime minister. Declassified documents show Belgium's role in his murder, backed by the CIA. Or the 1987 killing of Burkina Faso's Thomas Sankara, tied to French interests. These are not isolated. Hundreds of coups and assassinations have destabilized Africa, often with Western fingerprints. Then there's the money. The UN says over $100 billion leaves Africa annually through illicit financial flows, tax evasion, corruption, you name it. Add to that the $300 billion in total wealth drained yearly through resource extraction and unfair trade. And what has the AU done about it? Let's take a hard look at the AU's track record. The African Union was born with a vision, an integrated, prosperous, and peaceful Africa. So, has it accelerated intra-African trade? No. Africa still trades more with Europe, China, and the US than it does with itself. The African Continental Free Trade Area was launched in 2021, but implementation is slow. Tariffs remain, logistics are a mess, and many countries still rely more on Europe than each other. Tariffs remain, logistics are a mess, and many countries still rely more on Europe than on each other. Has it industrialized the continent? Not really. Africa remains a raw material supplier. We still export cheap minerals and labor and import expensive finished goods just like in colonial times. Natural resources, still mostly managed by foreign multinationals with little to no coordination across the AU. Food security, over 280 million Africans face hunger today. Peace and security, from east to west, Africa is facing coups, terrorism, and conflict persistently for decades. The truth is, the African Union has not become a continental shield, it's more of a continental stage where global powers shape the narrative and African leaders are forced to politely applaud. Unless the African Union learns to stand on its own 2 feet financially, it can't really stand for Africa, and the AU is trying to break free. In 2017, the Kigali decision introduced a 0.2% levy on imports to fund the AU. By 2020, 16 countries were collecting it, and by 2023, 31 paid their full dues. The AU Peace Fund raised $384 million, 96% of its goal, entirely from member states. While the AU's push for financial independence is tough, full of hurdles, it is the only way out. It requires political will. Last year, AU Chairperson Moussa Faki Mohamed called out leaders for ignoring 93% of AU decisions over 3 years. Without unity, the AU cannot challenge Europe's grip or stop the $1.8 trillion debt crisis choking African nations. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. Until next time, I'm Jalani Taswai, and this is Analytica Today.